There is a man who is the most powerful being on his planet. His father cannot understand him. He has never been able to explain why that is not his fault. Observation log, Heman, 7 entries. The sword is the least interesting thing in the file. Let us enter. 7. The performance. Prince Adam is lazy, distracted, mildly afraid of everything. That is the impression he maintains, on purpose. Prince Adam's chosen presentation, a pink vest, a haircut of considerable commitment, a general energy of someone who has made very deliberate choices, has led most of Eternia to underestimate him entirely. I want to note, they are not wrong to notice the choices. They are wrong about what the choices mean. His father, King Randor, a man who built a kingdom on courage, has watched his son avoid responsibility for years. The confusion is quiet. It is permanent. Adam knows he does not correct it. That is the first thing that should get your attention. I have documented 9 cases of beings who constructed false identities to protect someone they loved. In 7 of those 9, the false identity eventually consumed the real one. Not through enemies, not through betrayal. Through the slow cost of performing weakness in front of strength every single day. I have a category for this. Protection through invisibility. It is one of the most expensive things a being can do, and the people it protects never see the bill. He is not doing this alone. His twin sister Adora carries the same secret on a different planet. The same performance, the same cost, the same invisible bill. I have a separate file for her. 6. The key. The sword is dramatic. By all external metrics, the light, the thunder, the declaration, it is a remarkable piece of staging. I no longer believe it was the origin of the power, only the permission to reveal it. I have documented 14 civilizations that used activation artifacts. In 13, removed the artifact. The capability disappears with it. The 14th, from the outer edge of the Solara Reach, operated differently. The artifact was a key. The power was always in the carrier. Eternia is the second case I have found. Adam has been standing there the whole time. The sword just opened the door. There is also a tiger. Cringer spends his natural state hiding behind furniture and trembling at moderate weather. The sword transforms him into an armored war machine of considerable aggression. I have documented the before and after. The gap is, by any scientific standard, unreasonable. There is a difference between a weapon that grants power and a world that requires a ceremony. Before it will acknowledge what was already there, he had to perform the ceremony. Every time. I have spent some time considering what it does to a being to know that their truest self requires external permission to exist. To need a ceremony before the world will see what was always standing there. Adam required it every time. The asking was the cost. He paid it without complaint. That is not a minor detail. In documented combat, he used the sword as a weapon exactly once. Everything else was deflection, redirection, or one incident involving a boulder I have not been able to fully categorize. He has the strength to end most conflicts in seconds. He consistently chooses not to. I find this either admirable or deeply impractical, possibly both. 5. Unresolved. Eternia should not look the way it does. Laser cannons beside dragons. Spacecraft beside sword fights. Technology that predates the civilization surrounding it by centuries. And no one finds this particularly unusual. I maintain a planetary archive. One entry carries the classification, unresolved. Not unknown, not incomplete. Unresolved. I created that classification for one planet. I will return to it separately. What I will say here, a planet. This wrong should not have lasted this long. Something is holding it together. And it is not the sword. 4. The enemy. He-Man's greatest enemy is a being called Skeletor. Skeletor is his uncle. There are versions of this story where the nephew never learns the enemy was family. I have a separate file for this. I will not open it here. 3. The weight. His name is Duncan. He knows. He has known since the beginning who Adam is, what Adam carries, what it costs. Every day he stands beside King Randor and watches a father look at his own son with quiet confusion. Every day, Duncan says nothing. Orko knows. The sorceress knows. 3 beings, total, hold this truth. Duncan is the only one standing beside Randor every day watching the confusion up close. Orko is a small floating wizard who cannot reliably perform magic. He is one of 3 beings entrusted with the most important secret on the planet. I have reviewed this decision. I have not found a way to make it make more sense. I have considered what it does to loyalty. To watch someone you respect, look at a person they love, and see only what appears to be missing. Not what is there, not what is given, only the absence. Duncan knows exactly what is there. He watches Randor see the absence. He says nothing. Every single day. I have documented 8 cases of beings who held a transforming truth about someone they loved and watched that person be treated as the opposite of that truth. In 6 of those 8, the relationship with the unknowing person changed permanently. Not because of the secret, because of what it does to carry the correction in your hands and put it back down every morning. Man-at-arms does not carry the sword. Loyalty is not the absence of pain. It is the decision to carry it anyway. He made that decision without being asked. Adam never knew to say thank you. That is the part I find difficult to close. 2. The castle said no. The sorceress of Castle Grayskull cannot leave. The most powerful being on Eternia, also its prisoner, by choice. She accepted the cost before she was told the full price. She has been paying it since. She can briefly become a falcon. That is the extent of her freedom. I have sat with that sentence longer than I expected to. She chose Heman. He did not choose her. I have visited Castle Grayskull 3 times. 3 times I was told no. Not with hostility, not with explanation. Simply no. In my entire archive, across every structure I have documented in this region of the universe, nothing else has done that. I believe Grayskull does not measure what a visitor knows. I believe it measures what they can carry, without putting it down. I was told no 3 times. I have not decided if that is a compliment. 1. The father never knew. King Randor is not a cruel man. He built something worth protecting. He fought for it. He raised a son he believed to be a disappointment and loved him anyway, in the imprecise, permanent way that fathers love children they cannot read. He died not knowing. Not through cruelty, not through distance. He watched his son grow up and saw the performance without ever seeing the performer. The shield, without ever understanding what it was shielding him from. That is the architecture of the choice Adam made. The protection only works when it is invisible, and it was invisible completely. In more than one major recorded version of this story, Randor dies without ever learning that his son had stood between Eternia and total destruction hundreds of times. That every afternoon that looked like cowardice was a shield. That every avoided confrontation was a performance, maintained specifically for him. The people whose approval mattered most were the people he had to hide from. That is the whole story. You're not going to like what that means about how love actually works. I have documented 23 cases of protection through invisibility. In 19 of them, the protected person never learned what was given up. That is not a failure. That is the design. The invisibility only functions when it is total. He was the most powerful man on his planet. He could not tell his father. His father died, not knowing. 7 entries, one pattern running through all of them. He chose to be underestimated by everyone who mattered. He gave away the proof of what he was to protect the people who would have been proud of it, without recognition, without an audience, without a single moment where someone looked at him and said, "I see you. Well done." There is a civilization in the 4th arm of the Heliax cluster that solved the problem of conflicting identity by eliminating the private self entirely. Everyone visible, all the time. They considered it an advancement. They had no word for sacrifice, because you cannot give up something no one else can see. They lasted 4 more centuries, then decided quietly that they were finished. What Adam had, they designed out of themselves. I have looked for the right category for this in my archive. The closest I found was filed under things a civilization loses when it decides that comfort is the same as safety. That category is longer than I would like. Humans are, from my observations, the species that most consistently chooses what disappears, what they carry silently, what they protect by removing it from view entirely. I find this increasingly difficult to document without something I do not have a word for in your language. I have the coordinates of Castle Grayskull. I have visited it 3 times. 3 times it said, no. I have not found another place that has done that. I'm still not certain whether I was being protected or tested.